June Harnest is here. You teach sex education with anatomically correct dolls. I'm not kidding you. June, what age?
Every age from 7 years up.
You actually have the baby comes out of the vaginal part of the doll.
That's right. It's possible.
And the boy's doll is anatomically correct, as we say. And she has a doll that is circumcised and one that isn't.
A good way to learn about our body parts and to value.
You must be under siege. I mean, haven't the Bible people come after you?
Well, I've worked only with professionals thus far, and they have acted very professionally, and they have wanted the dolls.
You want to show? Go ahead. Just give them a sense.
I need to tell you that this is an option that parents have. I think that we need to know that our bodies are good and healthy and wholesome, and the more we can get that across to our kids, the better it is. So that to start with. Another thing that's important is that children need something tangible. They need to know what they see is what they reason by what they see. And so they need something tangible. It's not just something out in the abstract. The other thing is that it's helpful.
You've got such a preamble to this.
Okay, they need something to identify with. And that doesn't mean that they're going to look just like Susie and Fred. But I'm going to show you Susie first. And it's important to know that Susie comes to share with us what's good about her body and the changes that have occurred for her during puberty. And, of course, when we're talking with a young child, we can talk about breast.
Huh?
Another thing we can talk about are our body parts and the correct names for them. Vulva is the correct name for the outside genitals on females, but most of us have lots of funny names or cute names or terrible names that may be to put down. But also vagina is a word that's often used.
Now, how old are the kids with this? 7.
7, 8. I really think by 10 years they need to particularly know all about the body parts.
Yeah. Mrs. Harnest, you could teach my kids, no kidding. I mean, it's not important what I think, but it's clear you are trying to do something about America's agony, and that has to do with ignorance, and we are sending our kids into adolescence with really... You understand, of course, that this does make people just a little bit...
It's the adults who are uncomfortable. It's not the children.
And your point here is what? That the more explicit we can be without being giggly and the more healthy this child who's on...
I think when we can show them something as natural and normal, it's not like none of us have these parts.
Yeah.
It's like we all do and they will too.
Hang on a minute. What do you think?
I think she's absolutely right. And while we were standing on line outside, my daughter told me that she remembered I was doing drawings for her, and I had done sketches of...
How old was she?
Well...
Stand up, daughter.
Jody?
I was about 8, and I asked, and I mean, a lot of mothers have a lot of hang-ups. I was lucky not to have one, so I got...
The blood did not drain from her face when you were...
No, she was fine about it, and I think I have a better feeling about, sexuality and didn't have to go to all my friends and into the street for questions. But a lot of people don't, and I think in that place you need something in school.
So if I can make a point, I'd like to say that...
Yes, Eric Kiev, M.D., Director of Social Psychiatry Research Institute in New York City. Sir.
I think the point that's been made by somebody who talked about intention and the point that June has just made is it's the attitude of the parent. And the important thing is not so much the specific information, but the general way in which the information is held, the context, and the...
It is. They agree.
And the way...
Hang on. Now, does a baby come out of this body?
Yes, but I didn't want to do that on TV.
Well, now, if you're going to do it for 7-year-olds...
Well, okay, I needed to know. But this is inside, it fits inside of the vagina. Vagina is the term that we often use, and vagina is actually the opening inside. And this little baby with an umbilical cord and a placenta comes out. And if you look real carefully, you can tell if it's a little boy or a little girl baby. And I think it is important for us parents to get comfortable with our own ideas. As I say, it's often the adults that, those dolls there are so explicit. And yet, if we give them a chance to get used to it, and it's kind of like desensitization and get used to it ourselves.
Right. Uh-huh. You're just not sure about this, are you? What's the matter?
I think a large part of the issue is the adults aren't comfortable with their own sexuality. And I think they project it onto their children, and the more of a mystery you make of something, you give it intrigue unnecessarily.
It's easy for you to say.
If the first doll makers had made dolls like that, we wouldn't have a problem with it today.
Yeah. Would you kindly, I want to get this over with. I do not mind telling you, huh?
You want to find the male?
Yeah, because,
And one of the things we teach our children by not having genitals on them is that that's sort of a discount. Those don't really count. And how many of us have ever seen a little boy that isn't proud of his penis? And this is Fred, and his well endowed. Fred, we can talk about with the penis and at puberty, talk about.
What's the matter, doctor? Get in here.
I think there's a kind of a puritanical stream that surfaces in our culture, and I think...
Wouldn't they giggle in Russia, too, if they did this?
But they wouldn't in Tahiti, and they wouldn't in Kenya, and they wouldn't in many parts of the world.
And how are they better than us?
They wouldn't in Europe. In agricultural societies where people see sexual behavior among
So we're
animals.
really the most arrested in terms of...
I don't know if we're the most, but we're very repressed, and the more we have this kind of discussion that we're having right now, so that we all can accept the biology, the sexuality...
As a matter of fact, Phil, I would go even beyond that.
You recognize Faye Waddleton, who's president of Planned Parenthood. You wanted to say what? Yes, ma'am.
Well, as a matter of fact, I don't think we have to go to agricultural societies. America is arrested among all other industrial societies. If we were in England or Sweden or Netherlands, we would not have the kind of discomfort that has been displayed here. We as adults have really got to get a hold of the problem, and we shouldn't be talking about this at 7. We should be talking about it at 3 and 4, so that our children understand this perfectly clear
when can
very
a kid
early.
Understand? Let's just take one example. It's easy for all you experts to sit up here in your ivory towers, you know.
As a matter of fact, I am the mother of an 11-year-old, so we're not talking about me.
So you're in the trenches.
I am in the trenches, about to be really in the trenches, Phil.
Oh, okay. Because of 12, she's coming up on
That's right. She's coming up.
Let me be specific. When, for example, now don't waffle on this. When do you tell a young male, how old, what an erection is?
We can tell a young male at very early ages, like in the toddler phases, because he does have involuntary erections even at that phase of his anatomical
development. And this is for
development.
so it will go into the mommy's...
So we can talk about how his body responds. And the important point that you have to remember, Phil, is that they do not place the same sexual connotations on their body response that we as adults do. We want to put sex on everything we sell, and everything that we talk to our kids about.
We got a lot getting here. I promise we'll get to just... Does this doll have a condom?
Yes, he has a condom. And we always send it in his back pocket. Talk about you don't put them in wallets. That's not a good place to carry them. But he has a little tiny condom. It's kind of hard to see. Maybe you can see up against that. And this is an uncircumcised penis. I'm not sure that you can tell the difference, but a circumcised penis does have a stitching around it. And I think it is helpful for young boys to know why they may be different, look different from another boy.
Imagine a person turning in his TV right now.